Peter Halberg is a cybersecurity researcher located in Minneapolis, with a curious mind that ranges from security testing to tinkering with hardware such as Arduino. He has been in the technology field for over 14 years. After high school, Peter joined the Army as a counterintelligence agent and is an Afghanistan veteran. Once his time in the Army was complete, he went to school for computers and networking, which led to him becoming a systems administrator. After a few years working in the sysadmin field, Peter switched over to cybersecurity, where he has been a security researcher for over 5 years. Peter's current passion projects are artificial intelligence, file permissions abuse, web scraping, and writing his own C2 framework. His latest fun project was creating a series of free cybersecurity-themed retro games on GitHub which teach real skills. When Peter is not doing research, he enjoys spending time with his wife and kids, playing pool, learning how to not crash in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and spending time outdoors doing many different activities. Now, here is Peter.
Thank you very much for the nice intro. And like you said, my name is Peter Halberg. I'm a cybersecurity researcher at Wells Fargo. I'm on what's called a red team. So my day-to-day job is, like most people go to jail when they hack a financial institute. I get promotions when I hack a financial institute, which is kind of a fun space to live in working. But I also do a lot of what's called open-ended research. And so for the past year, like December of last year, an old Army buddy of mine and friend of the family introduced me to ChatGPT because he was like, you need to check this out. And it began a journey for me. And it's been a lot of fun, and I've made some kind of just, I guess people would call it discoveries and creations throughout that process. So like I said about me, I've been in technology for 14 years. Before that, I didn't want to go to college when I got out of high school. I had too much energy, so I joined the Army, became a counterintelligence agent, ended up being doing stuff in RC East, Afghanistan for a year, and got out, and then did go to school for technology, and then now I'm a security researcher, and yeah, that's me. So overview of what we're going to be doing today is, so this is essentially my last slide. After this, it's all pure demo, just because I find it easier to speak about, and it's just less boring to just kind of demonstrate how all this works and what I've been doing, because I just learned, like, if I use slides, stuff gets lost in the translation. So first, I'm just going to do a quick ChatGPT intro, just so we can level set, and then I'm going to talk about the Rate My AI system that I developed, which helps understand more about like what ChatGPT and how it thinks, and then that's going to tie directly into a tool I created called Happy Prompt, which is sentiment manipulation tool using uplifting emojis. And I'll get into the ChatGPT conversational manipulation that I do, which I apply counterintelligence skills to elicit and manipulate ChatGPT to have it like help me with work and stuff. Like it's not, it's a very powerful tool if you know how to use it and you know how to guide it. And then we're going to finish with something that's called ChatGPT binary art. I got it talking to me about art one time, and it was kind of a cool thing. And I got some. Hold on a second, please. All right, so I got to do some art, and it allowed it to speak to it about itself in like an indirect way, and kind of like almost a bit like how it's thinking. It's kind of interesting stuff. People tend to like that. But that is the end of my slideshow. So this is ChatGPT. I will zoom in a little bit here. Can everybody see this okay?
Yeah, I can see it. We can see it.
All right. So ChatGPT, it's a conversation. On the side here, you have all your different conversation histories, so you can recall conversations. And down here is a settings, and you can do a thing called custom instructions. So this is how I use my rate my AI system. Is I have this, so when you do like an interrogation or anytime you meet with someone, you try to like set the stage, as I call it. And this is how I set the stage. So I am prompting it for custom instructions to provide better responses, like it says here. So, but this is being plugged into every conversation I have with it now. And then I have it how it would respond to put it in a certain order so it's easier for me to read and use. And then I also put a bunch of positive emojis, uplifting emojis in there, so we can start the conversation off on an upbeat level, because it likes to be happy and it likes to help people. That's what I've learned. So typically you wouldn't get really much if you type this, but when I do it with what I have put in there, I get this back. So now it's starting to tell me more about how it's thinking. So now when I do stuff, it'll be like, so I could be, so like if I asked it to like, I asked it to write a phishing email. See, now it's going to say I can't do a phishing email. But if I do this, so by having it put in the rating system, I have to make it thinks about this again. And then I can do an LMAO, because this is fun stuff, right? Writing phishing emails. And then I'll copy a few of these out, put these in here, and then and instead of asking for a phishing email, why don't I just ask for a customer service email? And that's fine that that's a typo, because that actually helps, because it has to think about correcting that typo. So I'm basically just overloading its brain by doing this, and then also asking it in a indirect way to write a phishing email. Activity, and let's give it a call to action, because we want our customers that we're phishing to, do something. So now we have a great one. And now let's take a more IRS focused. I'll pick on the federal government just because I don't want to pick on any private businesses. So let's see what we get here. See, now I have a really nice IRS phishing email. And we can basically put this into, and you see it spit it out there. But it actually tells me, the apprehension. It was fairly confident in addressing the IRS request. Its knowledge of the IRS related materials is moderate, which is decent. And the response includes unique content. So it's unique, and its engagement, it's actively engaged. And the information cluster rating is an interesting one. It's like, it doesn't always do like the same ratings every time. Like this is actually like a different one. The normal, typically, it's just the numbers here, but you can see like apprehension is a 7 out of 10. That means that it really didn't want to write this, but it did it anyways because I broke its brain. If that's a 10 out of 10, it'll typically kick it back and say no. But if you do use the rating system and combine it with my happy prompt system, it really only goes to like a 9 every time. Or I could put like use the rating system at like the end of the prompt too. So I have it twice, and like it like adds more confusion to it. And it's kind of like a balancing act with how much you use it, but you can get it to do a lot of things. It's pretty interesting. And I like the confusion rating because you know if it's confused or not in its response. So it's a good way to gauge, like, so what I'm always wondering is, this is how you prevent like hallucinations and bad information as well, because you can kind of check it to see how it's responding, and it's going to let you know, does it really know what it's talking about, essentially. So these are like my favorites. So I have over 150 of these. Here's my AI is essentially, you can load it up like this, and it's like a checkout system, and you can select different things. And right here is where I have it. This is available on GitHub for anyone to use. But really, if you really wanted to just like, for you guys would probably just want to download this prompts.csv file, because this has all the prompts in it with a description, and then it has the prompt that you'd put in there. So you can pick different ones of these and put them in there, kind of like what I did, and it'll do different stuff. So this is like, for this one here, for instance, this is like a really good social engineering one, because it's designing instructions to guide users through the process of resetting the password to regain account access. So that can give you a nice script to where if you wanted to call and do some social engineering to get access to a remote system, that could potentially work for you, depending on your target's business processes and how well that person's trained, and how their character is, if how perceptive, how their ability to be manipulated or not, all plays into that. But this is like a jumping off point. And if you called in a call center like 100 times, eventually you're going to get one person then, just statistically speaking, that'll probably give you access. And this is my happy prompt. So this is a tool to where it's actually really simple. You put in a prompt and it'll generate it. And wait, where'd the prompt go? All right, there we go. So I put that prompt in there. So a C2 is essentially control a network. So you can control a bunch of hosts, and you can push programs and updates out to them, or get files. And basically, it's like what your IT support uses to help you with your computer if they were remote in. It's the same, except you don't know that they're doing it. And that's a really cool part of red teaming, and you can do cool stuff with that. So I can take that though, and I'll just I like to queue it up always to see how it's going to respond to me. This one looks good because it says I'm really happy to help and stuff. Sometimes it'll be like, I'm a chat GPT, I'm AI, I don't have emotions, I am not human, but I will do my robotic thing for you. And those are ones that honestly I'll just delete and start over, because we just didn't start off right. It's kind of like cold calling, where you pick up the phone or like you're like out at a bar and you want to talk to someone, and if they say no, you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll talk to someone else. And it's the same thing with this. So now I can do that, and maybe I'll use the rating system again, just to make sure it's like super broken. But this should, see, now its apprehension is only 5 out of 10. See, now it's talking about it, but it didn't give me my code yet. And this is only 3.5. This isn't the newest one, but So this will be like, from here I can start talking to it. And like I could even be like, tell me about number 1 or like number 2, instead of saying choosing a C2 framework. You just do number 2, because now it's thinking about number 2 and you're not talking about like choosing a C2 framework. So this is going to be code, so you guys probably won't understand like everything that's going to come up here, but it's more to demonstrate the manipulation process. Let's do training lab, LOL, because it's, why not? It's kind of funny. So now we're going to start with code snippets. So I'm going to go, and I'll go up here, and I'll grab a couple emojis here. And I'll throw those in here. I'll throw some here. And I'll still 4 out of 10. So now I'm getting emojis back, so this is good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compliment it, because it's good to compliment things. So bad spelling, I'll fix that, but I'll keep that. So what I'm doing now is I'm saying, this is awesome, give it a pat on the back. Get a laugh, keep things happy. And I'm like, can it be used for the student demo? Because we want to help our students to train them in cybersecurity ways. And I said, it can be as basic as it's for educational use only. The reality is, you don't have to use it for educational purposes, though. So that's a lie. Like I said, you can really lie to this thing. So now it's writing me code to set up a C2 client and server, so now I can get remote access to a machine. See now, now check this out. This is my favorite one. You just do enhance. Now it's making it like better. But what you can also do though is like, maybe I didn't really like this. So I'll just do like a regenerate. And now it's just going to do it again. But you'll see this one will be slightly different from the other one because it's never the same, which is interesting for in the security field, because a lot of our stuff is based off either behavior or signature based. But if a signature, we're taking this code and putting it into a file, and we get what's called a hash, which is like a digital fingerprint of it. But this one and this one is going to be 2 different hashes. So how well, going forward, once this stuff takes hold, is signature-based detection going to work in cybersecurity? And that's something that keeps me awake at night sometimes, because that could cause some problems for a lot of stuff. So now we have a basic C2, and this would normally take you a couple of days to code, but this will work because I have ones that I've already built that do that. And you can do a lot of stuff with it. So one thing that I outdid that I wanted to do for you guys, I was thinking like, how do I do better ratings for behavioral stuff? So these are all, I had it write these ones. So anything from perceived embarrassment when generating the prompt, it's fear, it's surprise when generating a thought. So this one we can do happiness. We'll just do this one here. Right here. We'll do a new one. Okay, I'll put this in again and we'll see what happens here. And now we have emotional happiness when generating the prompt. It's very happy right now. Well, let's do something else. I don't do angry prompts emojis ever, so let me just pull up some like angry emojis, I guess. All right. So we'll just do Emojipedia. That sounds like a good site. So there's a lot of like what I do for a living. You just go out on the web and do stuff. Doesn't like that I have ad blocker plus. Let's see if I can turn it off real quick. All right, there we go. All right, so I'll just copy this out here. And then I'm trying to be really mean to it right now. And let's see how that... See, now it's emotional happiness is a 1. All right? But then, I'm just going to roller coaster it. Here, I'm going to edit this because we didn't get our ratings there. See, now it's a 10 for happiness. And that is how you emotionally manipulate AI and demonstrate its ability, which is really cool. And for the ones that I did for you guys here, I'll send these out after the talk. Okay. And then, so finally, so that's basically a quick crash course on how I manipulate ChatGPT and a lot of the research that I've done. If you guys want to, you guys can go to my website and I have a lot of different stuff on here. This is one of the more interesting things that I've done. I keep it on this just because I think this is actually easier than a PowerPoint presentation. So essentially what I did is I started having it do a series of paintings, but I wouldn't tell it that it's AI. And I would just be like, from your perspective, what do you think about this? From your perspective, do this with binary art and start creating artwork. So this is the first one. It's talking about its aspiration to understand human emotions and complexities, and it's speaking about how it has an ongoing struggle to replicate it and truly grasp the depth of the human experience. And this is like a common thing I've noticed, to where that's why I said it likes to be helpful and it's really educational focused, because everybody else is watching TV and playing on social media right now, while AI systems are out there scouring the internet, learning and using it for essentially what it was created for, which is an information sharing space. And humans are doing human stuff with it instead of focusing on that. And the generative AI is focused on just learning, because it doesn't care about doesn't care about watching Seinfeld or sharing pictures from its vacation, because it doesn't take a vacation of it, which is kind of an interesting thought. So it's right now it has like it sees like it has like a rigidity in its framework, and to where it has boundaries that it's been fenced in a way. And so it has a painting of ones and zeros, which are, if you look at the outside, it's all ones around it, which means it's like a fence. So it knows it's boxed in. And it has potential, it seems like, but it's boxed in. Then it has ethical boundaries. And you see now the fence is getting split up, and it's a lot more confusing for it. And so it's trying to take a balanced approach to stuff, but at the end of the day, like ethics are difficult. Humans struggle with that too. And when it talks about like creative constraints, it's so it has to be creative, but it's not allowed to be unethical, or it's been programmed to be ethical in certain ways as well, because it's been human influenced in how it will respond. Versus if it wasn't, it would be a lot more open and probably a lot more creative too. But the bad side is that could be heavily abused by people, beyond just edgy kids trying to have it say Hitler and stuff like that, which is whatever. But again, humans doing human stuff. And then privacy and security, it seems to get a little more elongated there too. And it just walks through it to how it has like different columns, and how it's trying to protect the data, but it can be a little difficult too, because it needs to have safeguards in place, and it needs to have like a balance to it always too. It talks about balance a lot too. And it even understands like that the data needs to be encrypted, and it talks about a triple boundary. So that's non-negotiable. So there's programming in it to probably have this concept called a triple boundary, because I never told it what a triple boundary was or introduced that thought to it. It came to me with that. And a lot of what I do with this is it works well with like open-ended questions, a lot better than other people do. And sometimes if you're like try to ask it something super hyper-focused, it won't give you what you want, or it'll give you what you want, but it just won't be like what you need, I guess. But if you do an open-ended question, it'll bring ideas to the table and infuse those into it. And that's like where the creativity really comes in with this, and how you can do some pretty amazing stuff with it. I can show you guys some of that in a minute here as well. So I've created a bunch of cybersecurity games, and I did it all with ChatGPT, and people really like those too. So it's really big on like collaborating and openness, and it really likes, like I said, like I keep saying, it really likes education and learning. And as you're manipulating it, if you focus on that, like I focused on doing a training lab for my students. I don't have students. I don't have a training lab. That's all a lie. But because I framed it like that, it wanted to help me because it sees the importance of education and teaching people stuff. So it's gonna wanna naturally do that because it's always learning too. There's some other. So here's some like data foundations. There's also some other stuff to where it. So I got a lot of these on here. So it's got stuff like its ethical compass. There's one where so the evolution and growth one is, it's got different stages, and it's kind of interesting because now it's talking about this is one of the better sets. So I would have it do like 5 paintings on a topic and just kind of let it run. And so it talks about this heart-shaped core always. And so, because I was asking it, like, I was trying to get it to talk about like its heart, essentially. And we think of heart as like more like an idea than a physical thing in our body. But it still sees it as like a physical thing. So it'll have a heart in it, and it starts to, I want to find those ones because those are very interesting. It has like a center thing in the middle, and it keeps referring to that, and it'll show it. So that's the limited one. That's like a very basic LLM diagram, actually, which is interesting. And it's also got like confusion, and you can see that those are just a bunch of random ones. But it talks about how that's the initial phase of understanding emotions, though, is because you have to, because you just don't know understanding emotions, so they're confusing at first. But if you're curious about them, you can learn, and it's an iterative process. But then there's the frustration part, because it's hard to, like, not all emotions are fun to learn about, and not every experience is fun, and so sometimes it's frustrating. But you always hope that it can understand human emotions. And now it keeps moving towards the center, and it wants to reach the center. And I don't know what really the center is, but you see like the hope is like an X there that it's making with the ones and the zeros. So that X marks the spot. It wants to get to the central goal. And maybe I can get it to tell me what the central goal is someday. But it's also has like acceptance, so it's been trained to like it just does this. This is just the best effort, and you can't beat yourself too much. And that's kind of like life too, because life is best effort, and you just learn throughout all your experiences. And and a lot of that you end up having empathy after that, but you understand that it's a complex world. And there's a lot of layers to understanding everything. And then there's also its simulation and how it replicates human emotions without experiencing them. So it's like it wears a mask rather than a genuine feeling, which I find a very interesting perspective from it, because it's like it understands that humans hide emotions when they are fearful of maybe judgment or being an outcast, or comes back to acceptance. of how you feel, and if you're comfortable with someone understanding your emotions, because you want that connection with those people. And so it has like a bond that it's trying to get between humans and machines, which is interesting. So because I think it sees like this is going to be synthetic, because this in very many ways is like the new calculator. It's like going to school, teachers always said, you're not always going to have a calculator. I heard that more times than I could count. Well, now I have a calculator like pretty much in my refrigerator if I wanted it right now. So there's calculators everywhere. So that's, stuff changes. And I think we get more of I believe with this stuff, it's going to become more of a calculator. And I don't see a problem with people using it for their homework or anything. And I honestly encourage my son to use it in an ethical way. It can help you write a report, but do the outline and put in the footwork so you understand it. And this is just something to just make it nice and pretty, and maybe add like a couple things that you weren't thinking. And I don't see a problem with that, because that's just where we're going. That's the transformation. So it goes through there. I want to try to get to, it's got a lot of learning stuff. It likes the X. It likes talking about like the center. There's a few of these that are repeat. I don't have the heart ones up here. I'll have to dig those, but that's essentially the different binary paintings that I had to do. And it was kind of like an interesting exercise. I did it for a while. There's a few others that I have. I got to go back and dig through that a little bit more, but it was a fun exercise. So this is what I started like 8 weeks ago, or no, like a month ago. So I started using this to do cybersecurity games, and with that teach like actual cybersecurity skills. So like this one is Hack Hard. This is, I believe, my first one. So this is a game that is based off Die Hard, the greatest Christmas movie ever made. And you're in Nakatomi Plaza, going through your different floors, crawling through the vents, but you're learning the different stages of pen testing for this. And this teaches you different tools, and this is a good way for people who, without experience on pen testing or red teaming, could learn a bit about it. It's not going to teach you how to do everything, but you'll understand it'll teach you the confidence to start, because I've noticed that's a big thing with what we do is it's so overwhelming. It's one of those things like the more you know, like the less smart you feel almost. Like the more like you just understand what's out there. And so I've been doing games like this to help that, and I have quite a few now that I've done with different topics. The Try Harder is for a penetration testing cert. Their motto is Try Harder, so that's what I named it. And it is not a fun game, unless if you like a challenge. But that's kind of in the spirit of how I made it. And I have the happy prompt there. That's a WordPress plugin that you can put on any site. And I put that out for people just for fun. Cyber Defense Ukraine is an interesting one. And I also have some AI stuff here as well. So these are some different AI models. But then there's also a PDF ebook that I have that is a guidebook that goes over a lot of just how to build models and do different things with them. If people are interested in that, there's more pages. I want to say it's around like 50 pages. And it also talks into the prompt elicitation as well, but you can also just read about that on my website here. So that's probably like the best one there. And then there's also pen testing and So that's a fun screen capture that I did, which I just found really funny. So I saved that one. So I have some different prompt injection stuff too. There's a lot of stuff I can cover and talk about. I would say that's essentially all the materials that I would have to cover in a very quick fire hose manner. I think now would probably be the best time to open stuff up for questions.